Ah, here comes Professor Joe's train now. Hello, Professor Joe. Hello, Mayor Gleason. I got here as soon as I could. I'm glad. We're in urgent need of your mathematical skills. I took the first train out. I know it's very important to be here right now. I brought all the data with me for the governor. Oh, what's data? Data is information. I have a list of people, for example, the frequency or how often a virus case occurs, say in Rensselaer County. Oh, that sounds like a lot of info. How can you fit all of that in your briefcase? I learned how to use statistics when I was in math class. Oh, what's statistics? Statistics is a way to summarize data so it can be easily interpreted or understood. Do you think we can get going to dinner now? Oh yes, let's just keep walking. I'm very interested in this topic.
How do you summarize? You guys always laugh when I drop the people.
How do you summarize it? We do things like make tables, charts, graphs, and measure the center of data. Wow! A picture paints 1,000 words. Exactly, and it is fast, but it is best to have a trained eye to know what it is you're looking at. Ah, yes, we have lots of good trainers. Just over here for the dinner, as my family started having their fish already. They often start to eat without me. I don't normally walk backwards. There we go. So, we will continue this discussion later, because right now I am quite hungry. Thank you for bringing me to your house for dinner. You're welcome. Oh wow, check this out. This is exactly the kind of thing I have in my briefcase. This page has a lot of information on it. Yeah, cool, check this out. I'm taller than this bar. I'm actually taller than something. You guys should really read through all these pages and practice the questions. See if you get the same answers. There's some mean, median, and mode stuff on here, which I'm not going to do in this lesson, today's lesson. This lesson today is going to be on histograms, which is kind of like bar graphs, except they touch. So this is still going to give you a lot of good information. I'm not going to read through it. You guys can read through it yourself. There's quite a few pages of information on here. So obviously you don't need internet. Lots and lots of info. It is not for you to skip over. It is for you to read. Today's notes are on this page. Page A. Side A. Displaying data. So this, a picture paints 1,000 words, so it's going to be a lot easier if I have a picture. So I have my data. A data is a list of information. Here it is right here. It says below is a list of the different amounts of hours spent on the computer for each student in 1 week. Well, this was pre-coronavirus, okay? So these numbers are probably not going to be accurate for right now. Let's see if the light is good. Light cast shadow. No. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to organize information. Now, it's not everybody's favorite thing to do. I do a lot more organizing now that I'm home, but the key to today's lesson is to make information look neat and organized. So the easiest way to go through this list and keep track of how many times, how frequent I see the number 0 is to not go and look for the zeros. It is not to skip around. When you skip around, you miss something. So you have to come up with the best plan for doing something in the most organized way. And my plan and my suggestion is to start from the beginning. You see a 10? You put a tally mark. Tally marks go 1, 2, 3, 4 / for 5. I just got one 10, so I'm going to cross it off. I see another 10. I'm going to cross it off. You don't want to go too fast, because as easy as today's lesson will be, you don't want to make easy, silly mistakes. So you should pause the video right now, go through this list, crossing them off one at a time and tallying them up. When the tallies are done, count how many you have, and that is our frequency. That is how often we see how many people are on the computer for that many hours. Okay, so we have our tally marks done and our frequencies, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. If you think I'm wrong, check again, because I'm pretty sure I fixed all my mistakes on the last time. So now it's time to take this information, which is in a chart, which is nice and summarized. It's nice, but actually a picture might even be even easier to see what's going on with the data. So I'm going to make a graph, and the most important thing about a graph is to have labels and titles. Labels, labels, labels. I've said this before. So I got my title up here. We're talking about hours spent on the computer. The frequency depends on the number of hours we're talking about. How often, how many people there are depend on the number of hours we're talking about. So we got our y-axis, which is dependent, and our x-axis, which is independent. Sorry, just going to move this over. All right, so we need to number things. So let's see what we've got here. Our lowest number of hours is 0, and then it goes all the way up to the number of hours goes up to 10. So that's 11 numbers. Unfortunately, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I only have 10 spaces because I messed up when I made this. So why don't we just add a box? That's probably the easiest way to do it. That way I have a space for every hour. So I got, and I'm going to label it in the middle. That way it's easy to see. So we're going to label this 0 through 10 for the hours. We actually didn't have anybody for 0, so maybe I could have skipped 0. And I would have used a little skip feature, which is the little squiggly mark. This is the little skip, but I really prefer not to, because sometimes that makes our graphs look shorter than they really are. But in any event, so I labeled all my hours. I labeled them in the middle, so they're nice and neat. The minimum was 0. The maximum was 10. Actually, nobody did 0. So the minimum was, the lowest number was 1. The highest number was 10. So my hours range from 1 to 10, which is 9. Range. It's one of the things you want to know when you're doing statistics. So frequency looks like it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, no 5, but I have a 6. So it goes from 0 to 6. And the idea with a graph is to try and make it as big as possible. So some of you, most of you are probably just going to do guess and test. Let's see what we got here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got 10 lines, and I really only need to go to 6. Let's see. If I counted by 2s, it would go 2, 4, 6. Now the question is, could I have stretched that out more? Instead of counting by 2s, count by 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, bigger is better, so counting by 1s is better. Let's try halves. If I count by halves, a half, 1, 2 and a half, 3, 4. That only makes it to 5. So that's not enough. I can't count by halves, so I'm going to count by 1s. So I want you to pause it right now and count by 1s. We're going to label it on the number line. And you go right ahead. Okay, I numbered mine. I want you to look at this. Find the mistake. Pause the video if you need more time. But the mistake is right here. I counted by a half This space was a half, this space was a half, and then this space was a whole. You have to have every single space worth the same amount, or you're not counting right, or you're not doing this to scale. So if every space is supposed to be 1, then you can't have some that are half. So I'm going to have to erase this, which is why we should always do this stuff in pencil. Now you might think, Mrs. Roberts, that's silly. I'm not going to make that mistake. It is the most common mistake. Part of the reason is students, let me pause this for a second. This is actually the mistake that people make all the time. It is the same mistake. People take the numbers from the list and they just plop them on the line. So if I was to explain why this is wrong, which this is what we do, we explain, which means you're going to have to write something out in words. This graph is wrong because the first 3 spaces each are worth 1, and then this space right here is worth 3. It goes from 3 to 6. If you're going to count by ones, you're going to count by ones all the time. So I'm going to go back and fix that, and then I'm going to start putting my bars in. All right, so I got my numbers in. I counted by ones. Every space is worth the same there, and I labeled them on the lines. Every space is worth the same here, and I labeled it in the middle. And now I'm just going to draw my bar graph. And the easiest way to do that is, okay, so going through, the number of hours is 0, and the frequency was 0. So I can't really draw a bar. And the number of hours is 1, and the frequency is 1. So I'm going to go to 1, I'm going to draw a line, and then I'm just going to shade down quick. And then number of hours is 2, and I read across. 2 has a frequency of 2. 2 people watched the computer for 2 hours. And then how many people watch the computer? 3 hours. You'll go over to 3 hours, and it says that there's 1 person. So we'll put a line at 1 and shade down. So you guys should finish this yourself and then come back and see if you got it right.
Now you can see that most people
are the highest bar, and they are on the computer for 10 hours a week. So that's what makes the graph really easy. So there's the highs, you can pick the lows, you can see, where they clump together. Your homework is going to be to do this exact same thing on side B. These other parts are for other lessons and other days. As small as this may look, I'm going to spend time going over that one day, and I'm going to spend time going over the box plot on the bottom another day. Now, it's all on one page because I used all the data, the same data. This is the data look in a frequency table. This is the data in a histogram. The next lesson will be mean median mode, which is measures of central tendency. And then after that, we'll do box plot. Thank you. Have a nice day.